Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle. And we are in the Mount Kenya region, and we cannot wait to crown the winners for this region. In this senior knockout, we have Weithaga Boys High School versus Nyeri Boys High School. And their motion of dissection reads, the Kenyan youth should solely blame the Kenyan government for the bad debt culture. I'll read the motion of dissection again. The Kenyan youth should solely blame the Kenyan government for the bad debt culture. All the best to both teams. Team proposition first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
Hey. Right now, I don't have the words to explain my emotions. I look at my phone, I see M-Kopa, M-Shwari, Tala, Fuliza on my M-Pesa. I think right now I must be customer of the year because I've been going to these learning institutions. Why? Why have I been going to these learning institutions? Because of this factor. I don't have money. Where is this? I don't have money. And please, ladies, not follow me after this because I don't have money. Why? Why don't I have money? Why don't I have money? It is because the government is simply taxing the youth, imposing taxes that are unreasonable. I've never even heard of these taxes. And now I ask our opponents here, are you willing to let us suffer? Are you willing? How are you not going to let me explain my emotions by blaming the government for this bad debt culture? My name is Raphael Mushiri, a financially savvy youth coming from the Centenary School, Nyeri High School, here to blame the government for the bad debt culture. Now, before I tell you why the government is making us poor, let us first be up to par with the motion. Who is a Kenyan youth? A Kenyan youth is a person aged between 18 and 35. That is according to Kenya Bureau of Statistics. What is a debt? A debt is the state of owing someone something. That is according to Cambridge.org. To blame is simply to be responsible for something bad happening. That is according to Cambridge.org. Culture is the customary beliefs, social forms, and material traits of a racial, religious, or social group. That's according to Cambridge.org. A government is simply a group of people who officially control a nation. That's according also to Cambridge.org. Now, how is the government making us poor? I say poor education. Education should be up here. But the government has not invested adequate resources and finances in the education sector. That is why in business studies, I'm being taught useless topics such as demand and supply. Do you know demand and supply? I can only be a bus driver. A bus driver. The companies will be calling me, and they'll be telling me, come for these goods. I don't want to be a bus driver. I want to be rich. Who doesn't want to be rich? Maybe these guys. I don't know. The government should simply invest more in education. That if they invest more in education, we'll have quality education. Quality education, when we have quality education, we'll be able to, this will go in line with SDG number 4, which is quality education. Now, quality education is simply whereby these government officials will have financial literacy. That's why they'll not be borrowing every once in a while, because the solution is not more money, it's where we put the money. 2 things, facts, 2, no fiction.
There was once a wise man by the name Reid Hoffman who once said, debt is not a problem, it's a tool. What matters is how you utilize it. And that is why I, Felix, from the great Weithaga, will be proposing the motion that says the Kenyan youth will be opposing the motion that says the Kenyan youth should solely blame the government. Should solely blame the government for bad debt culture. First of all, I would like by rebuttaling what the first proposer said. He introduced the issue of taxation. Currently, our President Ruto is introducing high rates of taxation to repay the debts taken from China. Secondly, he said poor education. Right now, the government, according to the Education Institution Forum of 2023, the Kenyan government funds 23% of the fees to be paid in public high schools. Yet, he's saying poor education. Why should so it means that even though the government is helping him to earn education, he said he is earning poor education. If the government leaves the obligation of paying fees to the parent, it is stated that majority, over 20% of students in high schools right now will not be able to attend high school. Therefore, meaning we also reduce the number of university applicants. On to my first point. As he demonstrated, he said that his wallet is currently empty. And he said that he has taken debts from M-Kopa and M-Shwari. Why are you blaming the government for the debts that they did not tell you to go and take? It was you yourself who went and took them. And when you are finally broke and you've reached the final limit of borrowing, now you start blaming the government. No, you should not blame the government. According to a survey by the Association for Financial Educators in Africa, found out that only 21.1% of the youth in Kenya are the ones who are familiar to the basic concepts of financial literacy. The rest of 78.9% are not familiar to the basic concepts. So when you say that the government should be blamed, first of all, you should first identify why the government is borrowing these funds and stop blaming the government. Because blaming the government would make your debts disappear. Take control of your financial future towards a debt-free life. I rest my case. Thank you.
You know, you talk about a wise person. But my question is, why isn't the wise person you? Because you cannot understand why you are not supposed to be opposing such a motion. A motion that clearly states that the Kenyan youth should solely blame the government for debts. I am here to blame the government. Allow me, Mbode John from Nyeri High School, to firmly propose the motion that states the Kenyan youth should blame the government for debts. You know, take a tangerine, which is being squeezed. You squeeze it to get juice. But you cannot see that the government is squeezing. The government is squeezing your mother. The government is squeezing your father. The government is waiting for you to squeeze you after Form 4 to get 300 shillings to get for an ID, according to a statistics done by the Kenya Bureau of Statistics. Now, my question is, why shouldn't I blame the government? Who am I supposed to blame? Is it you? You know, this is going against the SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth. The percentage of depressions in Africa. We all know. No, we not all. It is made by statistics. Now, if I have debt from this person, I have debt from this person, but I do not have a way to pay them. These are debts. This is according to research done by the National Institutions of Health, 62% of youth who are depressed attribute this to taking debts. Now, who am I supposed to be blaming? Am I supposed to be blaming myself because I'm getting depressed, or am I supposed to be blaming you guys who are trying to perpetrate that the government is not bringing up these debts? Remember, two things: one, facts; two, no fictions. Income is sliced. According to KRA.gov, 25.2% of a person's income in Kenya is taxed. Now, my income being sliced, how am I going to pay the debt? This is going against SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth. The government is taxing me too much, so in an extent that I cannot pay for the debt. And yet again, you are talking about money. How wise are you, and you do not know which stand you are supposed to be? I blame the government. Remember, the government is taxing your teacher. The government is taxing you. Then my question is, who am I supposed to blame? Who am I supposed to blame? This is going against SDG number 8, decent work and economic growth. Remember that we in Kenya we do not have ways. We do not have ways to pay debt. But yet again, you do not give me a person to blame too. Yet I say, please give me a person to blame.
Let us put our hands together and give a round of applause to Pharaoh here. Actually, don't. So, allow me to deliver you from Egypt, a dry and harsh place, and take you to Canaan, a place full of milk and honey. In that case, welcome to Canaan. Now, what you have said, you said that the government, the income which you earn, they tax you. Let me ask you a question. What do human beings need in order to survive? Humans need food, oxygen, and the other essentials. Just like how the government needs those funds in order to run this country. Let me ask you a question also. If the government didn't ask you to be giving them something so that they can be able to take care of your needs, example, medical needs, transportation, like the way we came here. We did not come by feet. We did not come by bicycles. We used a bus. What does the bus require? It needs a road. So the government will require that money, that little amount of money that you give them, that little, so that they can use it to give you what you require most. Now, on to my first point. You're asking for someone to blame. Let me give you who should blame. Blame yourself. Blame yourself. You are a youth, right? Blame yourself. According to Statistica, 42% of the Kenyan youth have an outstanding debt. 42%. How many youths are there in Kenya? How many? There are many. 42%, that's a lot of money. That money could have been used to repay some of the debts, making Kenya a debt-free nation. But what? The youth are not paying their debts. Instead, they're saying, Dennis ni ya kesho. Let's not pay the debt today. There's always time. In fact, there's always time. Let me tell you, there's no time to spare. There isn't. Pay that debt now so that the government can reduce the debt which you are complaining of, which you are forcing them, the government, to be taking so that they can provide for you. Now, look at this scenario. A youth who has stayed for long, who's broke, who doesn't have anything. What do? Take up a huge banner like this. Kazi kwa vijana. We need our money. We need our money. Government, give us our money. And yet you are going to complain to the same government that they are borrowing too much money. What do you expect them to remove the money from? You are continuing. Give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. The government, what are you giving to the government? Only beans. The money, we can only compare them to beans. So, dear Pharaoh, follow me to Canaan. Follow me to Canaan. Please, I beg of you, follow me to Canaan. where you will live happily and enjoy the rest of your life. That rests my case. I'm Lewis Ndegwa, proudly opposing the motion.
My dearest brother living in Canaan, can we please have composure? This is not about emotion. Relax. My name is Alvin Karaoke from the Nyeri High School. As you know, we are 100 years old. I'll take you back in history after a few minutes, but the centenary school, Nyeri High School, here to do one thing: blame the government. Well, let's go back to 2006. I'm going to assume they are from 2006 because they seem to have forgotten when the government knew how to manage funds. In 2006, Kenya had a debt of 345,939 million, according to the treasury.go.ke. The population during that year was 36.93 million. What am I getting at? If you divide that, by the time all three of you are born, you owed the government 208,148. And that's just not for you, that's for me too. That's why I'm blaming the government. So if you're supposed to blame me, let's look for a check and sign together for, let's say, 600,000. Do the math for me since you're in Canada. You have a great time there. So let's come back to the year 2024. In 2024, we have a debt that is 64.8% of our GDP from Ruta.com. This means 39,927 trillion. We are in debt to that extent. What is our population once again? We've grown by a teeny bit, 54.03 million. What does that mean? Currently, you owe the government about 70, 90 to $120 Kenya shillings, around that number. So let's come together and let's pay together. And I have a question. If debt is good, will you enjoy being at home for school fees balance? I don't know, you tell me. According to the Ministry of Health, over the years, poor girls, I'm very sorry in the audience, it is quite sad that in the study of Ministry of Health, about 45% of girls cannot access sanitary towels. I am blaming the government. Why? In the financial bill, they are willing to introduce a levy for sanitary towels. Can you imagine? Where are you going to get it from? Girls from BG, where are you going to get it from? Are you going to get it from Raphael? No, he doesn't have money. Are you going to get it from me? No, I owe the government hundreds of Kenya shillings. Are you going to get it from them? No, unless you're going for milk and honey, then go, sure. And I don't know, since they want to tax on the sanitary pads, I don't know if you can tell me if the government can find a way to control the menstrual cycle. I don't know. I don't understand how. I blame the government. Let's look at our motion mover for today. Our motion mover is being squeezed like a fruit because of tax. The timekeeper squeezed. The camera lady looking very nice and professional in her nice t-shirt, squeezed. Let me just say, the government needs 1 billion Kenya shillings to apply for a debt. Knowing that our government applies for debts every now and then, tell me, why should the judge pay a debt for another debt? Thank you for your time.
Our motion of the section today is the Kenyan youth should solely blame the Kenyan government for creating a bad debt culture. Hilary Silla from the Great Weithaga Boys High School strongly opposing our today's motion. Let me start by clarifying some delusional cases from our team proposition. The first proposer said, taxing unreasonable taxes on the youth. Excuse me, let me inform you. The government doesn't tax the youth who are not working. You have to be working so that you can be taxed. Number two, the first proposer also said, poor education. I think they're joining us in opposing this motion. Only if I go to specific, poor education on financial matters. That is, in other terms, lack of financial literacy, which can lead to poor financial management, which definitely will lead to debt accumulation. So, why are you joining us in opposing the motion? You can see your side of the motion, you're definitely losing. Proposal number 3 came and saying, paying 300 for ID. The government is waiting for Form 4s to leave school so that they can squeeze 300 shillings to pay an ID. You're a man. You should take care of your, you should be accountable for your financial reports, because you are supposed to pay that 300 shillings so that you can acquire that ID. Do you expect the government to pay that 300 shillings for you? On other terms, how is the 300 shillings for an ID related to blaming the government for creating bad debt culture? I hop on to my first fact: economic factors beyond Kenyan government. The Kenyan government doesn't just wake up one morning and say, we are going to acquire debt because of this and this. It's because of some factors the Kenyan government can't control. Example, the Kenyan government can't control the global economy. That's something that's controlled by the IMF, the World Bank, and the world superpowers such as the United States of America. If there's an inflation in the United States of America and we use their currency, dollar, as a common means of trade, I think that will lead to an inflation in other countries such as us, which we are third world countries. And if it leads to an inflation, what will we do? We have to sustain our country. So what will we do? We'll have to acquire the debt. I don't know why, but the problem is not acquiring the debt. Let me make this clear. The problem is not acquiring the debt. If you acquire the debt and use it responsibly to bring up structures such as Thika Road Superhighway or SGR, which can generate back income that will be used to pay the tax we borrowed in due time, I think that is good, not bad. So don't only blame the Kenyan government, because there are some factors that drive this, that drive the government to take debts. I rest my case.
Since Moses and Aaron have decided over pettiness, let me join them for a second. You've said that for a second. Someone said wrong. One of you just said Japan is taking taxes. No, is taking debts. No, Kenya is taking debts from them. But I'm done being petty for a second. You're talking of Thika Road Superhighway as being a way that this tax is being used properly. It's not being used properly. The port was almost sold. We do no longer. The KICC has been privatized. The expressway has been sold. Don't you read the newspaper? Let's continue. I actually agree with you. It is because we are financially illiterate. It is because the government does not teach us financial literacy. What does it teach you, business students? Ledgers and cash books, product promotion or something. I don't do business, but I know useless stuff that you're not going to use anywhere. And a point of correction, you are not taxed when you start working. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, it states that once you finish Form 4, and gain 18, you're going to have to take an ID and you're not filing nil returns at KRA. You have to pay 300 shillings per tax. And to close, I have a question. Since debt is good, with a fee balance and 208,148 Kenya shillings to pay, when are you thinking of paying? I don't know.
Allow me to laugh for that beautiful. Now, let's continue. What I'm holding here is the Kenyan Gazette supplement. It has all the contents on how the money which we give to the government, how it is all used. How it is used, it says here that the money which is used is partly being used to provide the education which you are currently undergoing. So, let me ask you are saying that Egypt is fun. Did the people of Israel have fun in Egypt? Did they? No, they did not. In fact, they were miserable. Toiling day and night working for the Egyptians. My people, let me tell you, don't work for them. Come live a free life. A free life where you enjoy the fruits which you give to the government, which in return they provide your needs. The needs which you need most, not just some needs. I rest my case.
All right. The stage was fairly well lit with a lot of passion and conviction in the motion. Now, I'll go straight to the individual comments so that we can see what you did right, what you need to do in order to better your best. The motion reads, the Kenyan youth should solely blame the government for creating a bad debt culture. Nyeri High, Raphael, you began in a very good way, very confident. You mentioned M-Kopa, M-Shwari, Tala, Fuliza. I was waiting for the link to the government taxing the youth and linking to a bad debt culture. So that was a good start, but again, the link was not coming out so clearly. You gave us some good statistics in terms of a definition of the key terms of the motion. However, looking at the gist of the motion in terms of how the government is creating a bad debt culture, justice was not fully done. The points you gave, for example, you said the government is making us poor. I wish you could have expounded more on that. You also spoke about quote-unquote useless topics such as demand and supply. In business, I wish you justified your argument and linked back to the motion. So the linking back to the motion was largely missing. You're good in your passion and conviction. But beyond the passion and conviction, we also have mastery of topic, which is very, very important, and coherency of argument, where we are looking at how you've tied your argument back to the motion. And then you took a lot of time defining the motion, and this in a way ended up eating into your time to give us the facts. You're a passionate debater, but more research needs to be done. And please always make sure you are linking your arguments back to the question. John, as a second debater or second speaker, your role is to rebuttal. Your role is to deconstruct the points of the first speaker. Was that done? No, it wasn't done. As I say, it is a learning experience. It's a learning experience. Thank you. All the best.